Hello and welcome. This article is from Al Jazeera. I will leave the link in the description below. It is titled, Ukraine Fires UK-Made Storm Shadow Missiles at Russia. What We Know. A day after Kyiv fires the Anglo-French missiles into Russia, Moscow hits Ukraine with an ICBM, reports say. And this article was posted by Sarah Shamim today, November 21st, 2024. It reads, Ukraine has fired UK-made Storm Shadow missiles into Russia a day after launching long-range American ATACMS missiles, raising fears of a major escalation in the nearly 3-year war. Ukraine's government has yet to confirm the strikes on Tuesday and Wednesday, which come days after United States President Joe Biden's administration reportedly removed the restrictions on the use of long-range U.S.-made weapons after lobbying by President Vladimir Zelensky. The Ukrainian leader has been pressing his Western allies to allow the use of ATACMS, or Army Tactical Missile System, amid military gains by Russian forces in recent months. Kyiv has received more than $100 billion in U.S. aid from the West, including more than $61 billion from the U.S., the largest source of military aid to Ukraine. All right, people, the U.S. is the largest source of military aid to the Ukraine. And guess who is the largest military source to the state of Israel? Military aid, people. The U.S. is in the business of military aid. Continuing, Russia has warned that Ukraine's use of long-range missiles to strike inside Russian territory could result in an escalation. On Thursday, the Ukrainian Air Force said Moscow fired an intercontinental ballistic missile, or ICBM, into its territory, but Moscow has yet to confirm the claim. Where did the attack take place, and does it spell an escalation in war? What happened? Quote, 2 Storm Shadow cruise missiles, 6 HIMARS, High Mobility Artillery Rocket System rockets, and 67 unmanned aerial vehicles were neutralized by air defense systems, end quote, Russia's Ministry of Defense said in a statement on Thursday, without sharing the location of the attack or information about any damage caused. Russian war correspondent accounts posted videos on Telegram in which at least 14 explosions can be heard. Most of these explosions were preceded by a sharp whistle resembling the sound of an incoming missile. The videos show a plume of black smoke rising above what appears to be a residential area. The Reuters news agency reported the pro-Russian Two Majors channel posted on Telegram that Ukraine fired up to 12 Storm Shadow missiles into Russia's Kursk region, which lies on Ukraine's border. The channel carried pictures of pieces of the missile in which the name Storm Shadow was clearly visible. Where did they hit? At Al Jazeera's Sanad verification agency used geolocation to deduce that the attack took place on Maryino, a village in Kursk. And I'll zoom in here. Ukraine fires first long-range missile. Ukraine has, for the first time, used British-made long-range Storm Shadow missiles to strike Russia's Kursk region, a day after launching United States-made long-range missiles into the country. And it provides a map. And so the orange indicates UK-developed Storm Shadow missile range, and I guess the reddish or pinkish indicates a U.S.-developed ATACMS missile range. Interesting. Continuing. What are Storm Shadow missiles? The Storm Shadow missile is an Anglo-French long-range cruise missile. It is launched from military aircraft in the air rather than from the ground. It is also called the Scalp missile, SCALP. The missiles are manufactured by the United Kingdom and produced using components from the US. They can hit targets up to 250 kilometers or 155 miles away. Holy crap, guys. Wow. That's like, I used to live in Arizona, and that's like the distance, that's almost the distance of Tucson to Phoenix. It's like launching a missile from Tucson to Phoenix and hitting Phoenix. That's like crazy to me. All right, continuing. Each missile costs nearly $1 million. You see that, guys? Each missile costs nearly $1 million. Right? Lockheed Martin, Raytheon, right? They're raking it in too. The US government is raking it in, and so too are the manufacturers. In May 2023, the UK confirmed that it had sent Storm Shadow missiles to Ukraine on the condition that Ukraine use them only in its own territory against Russian forces. Western countries have backed Ukraine since Russia invaded its neighbor in February 2022. According to Ukrainian media, the Storm Shadow has previously been used in Russia-annexed Crimea. However, this is the first time Ukraine has used these weapons inside Russian territory. All right, provides a picture. All right, what are Storm Shadow missiles? The Storm Shadow or SCALP, SCALP, is an air-launched long-range cruise missile with stealth capabilities developed by the UK and France. The missile is in service with the UK, French, and Italian air forces and a number of export countries. Stealth capabilities, people. Storm Shadow. All right, and apparently it's 16.7 feet long, 5.1 meters, 16.7 feet long. So it's a big-ass missile. The range is 250 kilometers or 155 miles. The weight is 1,300 kilograms or 2,865 pounds. They are massive. They are heavy. Navigation, INS, GPS, terrain referenced navigation. Holy crap. Warhead, blast, penetrator. Operated from Eurofighter, Typhoon, Rafale, Mirage 2000, and Tornado. Operation flies low to avoid detection. Terminal effectiveness, mainly used to hit hardened enemy targets. Cost $1 million. Continuing, why were these developed now? The green light to use the long-range weapons came after the US, Ukraine, and South Korea said North Korean troops were deployed in the Kursk region. A portion of Kursk has been taken over by Ukrainian forces during an incursion that began in August. Washington, Kyiv, and Seoul said 12,000 North Korean soldiers have been sent to Russia. Additionally, they have accused Pyongyang of supplying weapons to Moscow. Moscow and that name have not officially confirmed the military deployment. The two countries signed a mutual defense pact in June during Russian President Vladimir Putin's state visit to North Korea. The, quote, aim of these Western nations is to support Ukraine, particularly in the area of Russia that Ukraine has occupied Kursk, end quote, according to Al Jazeera's diplomatic correspondent James Bays. How did we get here? The U.S. secretly sent long-range missiles to Ukraine in March 2023 and imposed the same conditions on their use as the UK did on the Storm Shadows. You see that, guys? How did we get here? The U.S. secretly sent long-range missiles to Ukraine in March 2023. Okay. Recently, there were indications that Ukraine's allies would lift the restrictions. In September, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken and U.S. counterpart Foreign Secretary David Lammy visited Kyiv and met Zelensky. When thanking the officials for visiting him, Zelensky posted on his X account, quote, "It is important that Ukrainian arguments are heard. This includes the long-range weapons," end quote. Has Russia reacted? Russia's defense ministry said it shot down 2 Storm Shadow missiles on Tuesday. The ministry said Ukraine fired U.S.-made ATACMS in Russia's Bryansk region, which borders Ukraine and Kursk. The Russian president has warned Ukraine's Western allies that if they allow Ukraine to strike inside Russia with the missiles, it would mean NATO is, quote, at war, end quote, with Russia. Of course it would. I'm going to read that again, guys. The Russian president has warned Ukraine's Western allies that if they allow Ukraine to strike inside Russia with the missiles, it would mean NATO is, quote, at war with Russia. This is why I'm reading this for you folks. All right? Yeah, we ought to be aware of local issues as well as international issues, because the international issues will directly impact us whether we want them to or not. Continuing, when asked if the lifting of restrictions means NATO has entered the war, Keir Giles, a senior consulting fellow at the London-based Chatham House think tank, told Al Jazeera, quote, "No, absolutely not. NATO is not party to this conflict," end quote. He added that the threat was a way for Putin to carry out, quote, information warfare to deter escalation, end quote. Tensions have escalated this week as the 1,000th day of the war passed. On Tuesday, Putin officially lowered the threshold of nuclear weapons use for Russia. These changes were first announced in September. Regarding Tuesday's ATACMS attack, Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov said, quote, "This is, of course, a signal that they want to escalate," end quote. You picking up what they're putting down, guys? You picking up what they're putting down? Right? Russia is hyper vigilant as to what is going on, and Russia is prepared to respond. Continuing. Speaking at a news conference during the Group of 20 G20 summit in Brazil, Lavrov accused Washington of helping Kyiv operate the missiles and said, quote, "We will be taking this as a qualitatively new phase of the Western war against Russia, and we will react accordingly," end quote. That's exactly what I just said, guys. That's exactly what I just said. And, okay, I didn't read this the article in its entirety yet, but that, yeah, I just said that Russia is letting the world know. They are dropping hints that they are not afraid to respond. They're not stupid. They know what's going on, and they will respond if they feel threatened. Continuing. He did not go further into detail. He doesn't need to go further into detail. Holy crap. I get the message loud and clear, and it's quite scary. Okay, guys? It's quite scary. Continuing. Russia launches ICBM. On Thursday, Russia launched an intercontinental ballistic missile hitting enterprises and critical infrastructure in Ukraine's east-central city of Dnipro, or I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing it, guys, according to the Kyiv Air Force. If confirmed, this attack is the first time an ICBM has been used in the war. An ICBM is capable of delivering a nuclear attack. Yep. An ICBM is capable of delivering a nuclear attack. Continuing. Ukrainska Pravda online newspaper quoted anonymous sources as saying the missile fired was the RS-26 Rubez. The RS-26 has a range of 5,800 kilometers, 3,604 miles. Wow, that's like double. That's more than double the previous missile they mentioned, according to the Arms Control Association. All right, Russia has not commented on the attack. Why are the UK and US helping Ukraine? Good question. Really good question. Giles, who is also the author of an upcoming book, Who Will Defend Europe, said the UK and France have been, quote, wanting to lift the restrictions on the use of the weapons but were held back by the US, end quote. He added that the White House has not provided a coherent explanation for why it is lifting the restrictions now, but there is speculation. Biden has given Ukraine the green light 2 months before Republican President-elect Donald Trump is sworn into office. Trump has promised to end the war, which has raised concerns about whether the U.S. will cut back its military support. Wow. All right, that's the end. That's the end of it. Yeah. Well, let's see what Trump does then, huh? He has sworn. He has promised to end the war. I do wonder how he intends to go about that, because I know that the military-industrial complex is it's a money machine, and so for a president to say, "I'm going to end the money machine," that sets off alarm bells for people like Raytheon and Lockheed Martin, the corporate interests who benefit and profit from war. You know, and in my opinion, those corporate interests have taken over the U.S. government. But anyway, let's see what happens, guys. But yeah, I pray that that President Trump is correct, that he's not bullshitting us, and that he does end the war. I pray that he keeps his word. But if not, then his true colors will be revealed, as the truth always prevails. Thank you for watching.